Today you will listen to a story in simple English, a story to help you practice reading, listening, and learning. But this is not only an English lesson, it is also a life lesson. It is a story of hope, courage, and change. It is the story of a boy who started with nothing and became a billionaire. As you listen, you will grow in your English and also in your heart. Let me ask you a question. How does someone with nothing become great? How does a boy with no money, no power, and no help rise so high? Many people live with fear. Many people think, I am poor, I have no chance, life is unfair. They feel stuck. They believe they cannot change. But there are some people who do not stay stuck. They rise, they fight, they build a new life. What makes them different? This is where our story begins. A long time ago, in a small place, there was a boy. He had no rich family. He had no safe home. He wore old clothes. He had empty pockets. But in his heart there was something special. It was small like a seed. It was not money. It was not a gift from anyone. It was a dream. At night when other children slept, he looked at the stars. He thought, one day I will change my life. One day I will not be poor. One day I will build something big. The world laughed at him. People said, you impossible. You are nothing. And for a moment, he almost believed them. He felt weak, alone, and small. This is the pain many people know. Poverty is not only empty pockets. Poverty is also heavy doubt. It whispers in your ear, stay where you are. Do not try. Do not hope. That voice of fear is strong. Most people listen to it. Most people stop dreaming. They accept a small life. But this boy did not stop. He listened to another voice. A quiet but powerful voice inside him said, try, believe, begin. He did not know how. He did not know when. But he knew one thing. If he killed the dream, his life would never change. So he held it close. The contrast is clear. One boy with nothing. Many reasons to give up. Yet he chose not to give up. Others with the same pain stopped believing. He kept believing. Others looked at the ground. He looked at the sky. This is the beginning of all great stories. Not money, not power, not luck, but a dream. Dreams are strange. They cannot be touched, but they can move mountains. They cannot be bought, but they can create gold. They live in the heart, and when the heart is strong, the dream grows. The boy did not yet have success. He did not yet have a business. He had nothing in his hands, but he had something in his spirit, and that spirit made all the difference. Think about this for yourself. Maybe you feel poor in money. Maybe you feel poor in hope. Maybe you feel poor in language, and English feels difficult. But the story shows us something important. What you hold in your heart is stronger than what you hold in your hand. If you have a dream, you already have the seed of change. The boy's first battle was not with money. It was not with work. It was with doubt. He had to choose. Listen to fear or listen to hope. Fear told him to stay small. Hope told him to dream big. He chose hope, and that choice began his journey. This is why we begin here with the question, how does someone with nothing become a billionaire? The answer is never easy. It is a long road, but the first step is always the same. It begins with the dream inside a heart. As we go deeper into his story, you will see his struggles. You will see his mistakes. You will see how he fell and how he stood up again. But before everything, before the work, before the risk, before the success, there was one truth. He dared to dream. And so, my friend, we now step into his journey. We now follow his path. And we begin with the first lesson of his life. The power of a dream. The power of a dream. The boy was very young when he first felt the weight of life. His house was small, and the roof leaked when it rained. His shoes were thin and the ground was cold. Sometimes his stomach was empty when he went to sleep. He had no toys, no comfort, and no rich family to support him. His parents worked hard, but their money was never enough. Life gave him almost nothing at school. Things were not much better. He sat on old chairs and read from torn books. Other children laughed at him because his clothes were old and his bag was broken. Some children stopped studying early because they thought, "Why try? We will always be poor." Many of his friends chose to give up. They believed their future would be the same as their past. They thought nothing could change. But this boy was different in his heart. There was something alive. It was not food, not money, not even a real thing you could touch. It was a dream. When he walked home tired and hungry, he looked at the big houses in the town. He said to himself, "One day I will live in a house like that." When he saw people driving cars, he whispered, "One day I will drive too." He did not know how or when, but he believed. The dream gave him energy when his body was weak. The dream gave him hope when life felt dark. Other children accepted their pain. They said, "This is life. We cannot change it." But the boy did not accept it. He carried his dream like a small light inside him. That light showed him another path. A path that was not easy, but a path that was possible. One night he lay on the ground looking at the stars. His stomach was empty, but his mind was full. He thought, "The world is big. I am small, but I can grow. I will not always be poor. I will not always be weak," he promised himself. "I will change my story." This promise was quiet. No one heard it, but it was strong. A dream is like a seed. If you plant it in good soil and water it, it grows into a tree. If you leave it in your pocket, it stays nothing. The boy planted his dream in his heart. Every day he watered it with belief. Every day he said, "I can, I will, I must." That is why his dream grew stronger while many other children's dreams died. Think about this. Two children live in the same poor village. One child says, "I cannot. Life is hard." That child gives up. The other child says, "I will try. I will believe." That child keeps walking. Years later, their lives are very different. Same village, same problem, but two choices. The boy in our story chose the second path. He chose to believe in his dream. Sometimes he doubted. Sometimes he asked, "Maybe they are right. Maybe I cannot change." But every time that dark voice spoke, he answered, "No, I will not stop. I will not give up." He did not let fear kill his dream. He protected it like a treasure. Dreams are powerful because they make us move. Without a dream, people stay still. With a dream, even a poor boy can start walking. With a dream, even a weak child can grow strong. The boy did not yet have success. He had no business, no money, no help, but he had the one thing that begins all journeys: vision. He could see a better future in his mind, even when his eyes only saw poverty. The dream gave him meaning. When he worked small jobs, he did not feel shame. He thought this is only the beginning. When people laughed at him, he thought one day they will see. When he was tired, he thought this pain is not forever. His dream turned his pain into fuel. Maybe you also feel small sometimes. Maybe you are learning English and it feels hard. You make mistakes and people laugh. You feel slow. But if you keep a dream inside, one day I will speak well. One day I will be confident. That dream will give you strength. Without the dream, you may stop. With the dream, you will continue. The boy's story shows us this truth. Dreams do not remove problems, but they give us power to face problems. Poverty was still there. Hunger was still there. Doubt was still there. But the dream said, "Keep going." And so he kept going. He did not yet know the path. He did not yet know the plan, but he knew he must believe first. Without belief, there is no step forward. With belief, the first step is possible. That was his gift. He dared to believe. The story of his dream is not only his, it can also be yours. Every person, rich or poor, strong or weak, can begin with a dream. That is why this lesson is powerful. The dream is the seed of change, and so the boy's journey began. A boy with nothing but with a vision. A boy with empty hands, but with a full heart. He could not stop now because his dream was alive. But as you will see, a dream alone is not enough. To move from dream to reality, he needed something more. He needed courage. Courage to start small. The boy grew a little older and the dream inside him grew stronger. But he soon learned that a dream, if it stays only in the mind, cannot change life. To make his dream real, he needed courage. He needed the courage to take the first step, even if it was small, even if people laughed, even if he felt afraid. One day he decided he would not just sit and wait for luck. He looked around his village and asked, "What can I do now with what I have?" He did not have money. He did not have land. And he did not have special skills, but he had 2 hands, 2 feet, and a heart that refused to give up. That was enough to start. His first job was simple. He carried water for neighbors from the river to their homes. It was hard work. The sun was hot and the buckets were heavy. His shoulders hurt and his feet ached. Some children laughed at him. They said, "Look at him working like a servant. He will never be rich." But the boy did not listen. He told himself, "This is not my end. This is my beginning." At night he counted the few coins he earned. The money was small, but it was proof. Proof that his dream was possible if he acted. Many poor children in his village waited for something big. They said, "I will work when I get a better chance. I will try when the job is bigger." They waited and nothing changed. But the boy started with what he had, even if it was little. That courage separated him from the rest. Later, he found another small chance. A man in the market needed someone to help sell fruit. The boy agreed. He stood in the hot market from morning to evening, calling out to people, "Fresh fruit, sweet fruit." His voice grew tired, but his spirit grew strong. Some customers ignored him. Some shouted at him, but others bought from him. Every sale, every coin gave him hope. Again, people laughed. "Why waste your time selling fruit?" they said. "You will never be more than a market boy." But he smiled inside. He thought, "You see a boy selling fruit. I see a man learning business. I see a man learning how to serve people. I see a man preparing for the future." This is the power of starting small. Many people wait for the perfect moment. They think, "I will begin when I have more money. I will begin when I have more knowledge. I will begin when someone helps me." But perfect moments never come. The boy did not wait. He began where he was, with what he had, even if it was almost nothing. Each small job became a teacher. Carrying water taught him discipline. Selling fruit taught him communication. Working long hours taught him patience. These were not big lessons in big schools. These were small lessons in small places. Yet they built the foundation of his future. Sometimes he failed. Sometimes the fruit spoiled and he lost money. Sometimes the water spilled and he had to walk again. Sometimes customers refused him and his heart felt heavy. But every time he stood up and continued, he told himself, Better to fail small now than to fail big later. Every mistake teaches me something. This courage to start small was not easy. Fear whispered to him many times, "Stop. People are laughing at you. You're too small. You will never succeed." But he answered fear with action. He did not speak back with words. He spoke back with work. Every bucket carried, every fruit sold, every coin earned was his reply to fear. Think about the contrast. Other children in his village waited for change. They sat, they complained, they dreamed, but they never acted. They wanted the mountain to move before they started climbing. The boy, however, started climbing even while the mountain looked too high. He did not reach the top in one day, but with every step he grew stronger. Maybe you too are waiting for the perfect moment. Maybe you say, "I will practice English when I have more time. I will practice when I feel ready." But the lesson here is clear. You must start now, even if it feels small. Read one page, speak one sentence, learn one new word, just like the boy. Each small step will prepare you for bigger ones. The people who laughed at him could not see the truth. They thought small work was shame, but the boy saw it as training. A soldier trains with small weights before lifting heavy ones. A runner trains with short distances before long races. In the same way, the boy's small jobs prepared him for greater battles ahead. He looked at his few coins and smiled. They were not much, but they were not zero. He told himself, "I started with nothing. Now I have something. If I can earn a little, I can learn to earn more. If I can sell fruit, I can sell bigger things. If I can carry water, I can carry heavier responsibilities." This courage to start small, to accept humble beginnings, to keep moving when others stand still was his secret strength. It did not make him rich overnight, but it gave him the heart of a fighter. It gave him the habit of action, and action is the bridge between dreams and reality. The boy's dream was still far away. He was still poor. He was still laughed at. But he was moving forward step by step, coin by coin, lesson by lesson, and in his heart. He knew small beginnings are not weakness. Small beginnings are power, but courage, he learned, was not enough to change his life. He needed more than a strong heart. He needed strong habits. He needed to work hard every single day without stopping, without giving up, hard work every day. The boy had taken his first small steps. He had carried water. He had sold fruit. He had begun his journey. But now came the true test of his character, the test of hard work every single day. Dreams and courage are important, but without daily effort, they die. The boy understood this truth early. He chose a life of discipline, not a life of laziness. Each morning, while others still slept, he woke up. The sun had not yet risen, but he was already on his feet. His body wanted to rest, but his heart said, "Get up. Work waits for you." He washed his face in cold water, ate a small piece of bread if food was available, and began his day. The streets were quiet, but he carried his baskets, prepared his goods, and set out for work in the market. He worked long hours. He stood in the heat. He lifted heavy loads. He smiled at customers even when he was tired. He repeated the same words again and again. Fresh fruit, sweet fruit. It was not easy, but he knew that every hour was an investment in his future. When the day ended, most children ran to play. They played football in the field. They laughed. They shouted. They enjoyed their youth. The boy wanted to join them. He wanted to laugh, too, but he chose differently. He sat with his small coins and counted them. He thought about how to save. He thought about what he could learn. He knew he had no time to waste. At night, when other children rested, he lit a small candle and read. He did not have many books, but he borrowed them when he could. He read slowly, carefully, sometimes repeating sentences until he understood. Reading was not easy for him, but he believed knowledge would feed his dream. Every new word was a step forward. This was his routine. Wake early, work long hours, save every coin, read every page, day after day, week after week. The cycle was hard, but it was building something inside him. Discipline. Discipline is the habit of choosing what is right, not what is easy. Contrast his life with the others. Some boys in the village woke up late. They stayed in bed when the sun was high. They laughed at the boy who worked in the market. They said, "Why waste your youth? Enjoy life while you are young." They went to parties. They spent money on sweets, on games, on drinks. For a moment they felt happy. But the next day they were still poor. Their pockets were empty. Their dreams were forgotten. The boy was different. He gave up the short joy to gain the long success. He missed parties, but he built discipline. He missed games, but he built strength. He missed comfort, but he built character. Every sacrifice was painful, but every sacrifice made him stronger. One evening, his friends invited him to join a festival. There would be music, food, and dancing. For a moment, his heart pulled him toward them. But then he looked at his small box of coins and his unfinished book. He told himself, "I can dance tomorrow, but today I must prepare for tomorrow." So he stayed home. He worked, he read, and he slept early to wake again before the sun. This was not easy. Sometimes tears came to his eyes. Sometimes he asked, "Why must my life be so hard?" But he remembered his dream. He remembered the promise he made to himself under the stars. That memory gave him strength to continue. Hard work became his teacher. It taught him patience. It taught him the value of time. It taught him the meaning of sacrifice. He saw that while others wasted hours, he built hours. While others wasted energy, he created energy. Hard work was not only about money, it was about building habits that prepared him for the future. Think of this lesson for yourself. Maybe you are learning English. It is tempting to skip practice to say, "I'm tired today. I will learn tomorrow." But tomorrow becomes next week, and next week becomes next year. The boy's story shows us if you want change, you must work every day, even if it is hard, even if it is boring, even if it hurts. Small daily actions create big results over time. The boy's body grew strong. His hands became rough from carrying heavy loads. His mind grew sharp from reading. His heart grew steady from discipline. He was no longer only a poor boy. He was becoming a man of strength step by step, habit by habit. Still, there were many moments of temptation. One day he was tired from the market. His back ached. His legs were heavy. A friend said, "Come rest with me. Forget your work. Life is short." The boy almost agreed, but then he looked at his hands, dirty and rough, and thought, "This is the price of my dream. If I stop now, my dream will die." So he continued. Another day, he saw other boys buying sweets with the little money they had. He had coins in his pocket, too. He wanted to join them, but he thought, "If I spend, the money is gone. If I save, the money will grow." So he walked past the shop, even as his mouth watered. That small choice built his future. Day by day, these decisions became habits, and habits are stronger than feelings. Feelings change. Some days you feel lazy. Some days you feel strong, but habits stay. The boy built habits of waking early, Working long, saving carefully, and learning always. Those habits made him unshakable. People in the village began to notice. They said, "This boy is strange. He works when others rest. He reads when others play. He saves when others spend." Some laughed, some mocked, but a few began to respect him. They saw he was different. They saw he had discipline. Success is not a sudden event. It is a slow build. It is the result of daily choices repeated many times. The boy's life proved this. He was still poor, but his spirit was rich. He was still young, but his character was strong. The world had not yet rewarded him with wealth, but it was preparing him for it. Hard work every day was his secret. It did not make his life easy. It did not remove pain, but it gave him power to move forward when others stood still. It gave him the foundation on which he would build his future empire. Yet life is never a straight road. Even the hardest worker meets storms. And one day, despite his courage, despite his discipline, despite his effort, the boy faced something that almost broke him. He faced failure, learning from failure. Failure comes to everyone, even to the most disciplined and hardworking. The boy with his daily routines of waking early, working long hours, and saving every coin, believed he was ready for the next step. He had saved enough to try something bigger than selling fruit in baskets. He wanted to test his dream, to see if he could grow his work beyond survival. One day, he decided to invest his savings into a small stall in the market. It was nothing fancy, just a wooden table, some baskets, and a sign painted by hand. But for him, it was a big step. It meant risk. It meant courage. For weeks he prepared. He planned how to buy better fruit, how to arrange it neatly, how to call out to customers with more confidence. He told himself, "This is the beginning of my success." But success did not come. At first, the stall seemed like a good idea. A few people stopped, a few bought, but then competition grew stronger. Other sellers had more experience, louder voices, and sometimes even cheated by lowering prices in ways he could not match. On some days, he sold very little. On other days, fruit spoiled before it could be sold. Slowly, his coins began to disappear. One evening, as he counted what remained of his savings, he realized he had lost more than he earned. His box of coins, once a symbol of hope, now looked empty and sad. His heart felt heavy. He thought, "Maybe I was wrong. Maybe I am not smart enough. Maybe my dream is too big for me. The pain of failure is sharp. It does not only hurt the pocket, it hurts the heart." For days, he walked through the market with his head low. People whispered behind his back. Some laughed. "See," they said, "we told him not to dream too big." Now he has lost everything. Even his friends began to doubt him. One of them said, "Why suffer so much? Just work for someone else. Accept your life. At least you will not fail again." The boy listened, and for a moment he wanted to agree. Failure made him tired, and he longed for rest. But deep inside, another voice whispered, "This is not the end. This is the lesson." He remembered the nights when he lit a candle and read books. He remembered the mornings when he woke before the sun. He remembered the promise he made to himself that he would rise no matter what. He realized that failure was not there to destroy him. It was there to teach him. He began to study his mistakes. Why had his stall failed? He discovered that he had not planned for competition. He had not thought about how to keep fruit fresh for longer. He had not saved enough for emergencies. These were not reasons to quit. They were lessons to improve. Slowly, his sadness turned into determination. He told himself, "If failure is my teacher, then I must be its student. He began again, this time with more caution. He worked for other sellers to learn how they managed their stalls. He asked questions, even when pride hurt him. He watched carefully how successful sellers spoke to customers, how they arranged their fruit, how they managed their money. Failure humbled him, but humility became his strength. Contrast his story with others who failed. Many people, when they face failure, give up completely. They say it is too hard. Life is unfair. Nothing works for me. They bury their dreams and choose the comfort of excuses. They never rise again because they see failure as a wall. But the boy saw failure as a mirror. It showed him his weaknesses, but also gave him the chance to grow stronger. One night, as he sat alone under the stars, he thought about giving up. His heart was tired. Tears filled his eyes. He whispered, "Why must it be me? Why must life be so hard?" The silence of the night gave no answer. But then he remembered all the great men he had read about had failed at some point. They too had faced betrayal, loss, and defeat. But they had risen again. If they could, why not him? That thought lit a new fire in him. He decided to treat failure not as the end of the road, but as a bend in the road. He would continue walking. So he returned to the market. This time he worked with new wisdom. He bought less fruit to avoid waste. He treated every customer like a guest, greeting them with respect. He watched the details, keeping his stall clean, arranging the goods beautifully, learning when to lower prices and when to stand firm. The results did not come quickly, but slowly he began to see change. His coins grew again, not fast, but steady. More importantly, his confidence grew. He had survived failure, and that survival gave him a strength he had never known before. The lesson was clear. Failure is not the enemy. Failure is a teacher. It hurts, but it teaches. It breaks you, but it also rebuilds you stronger if you do not give up. Think about your own life. Maybe you tried something and failed. Maybe you studied English but forgot words in conversation. Maybe you tried a business and lost money. Maybe you trusted someone and they betrayed you. It is painful. It makes you want to quit. But the boy's story tells us failure is not the end unless you make it the end. If you rise again, failure becomes your stepping stone. He learned something important. Success is not built only on courage and hard work. It is built on mistakes corrected, lessons learned, and wisdom earned through pain. The boy no longer feared failure because he knew it could not destroy him. It could only teach him. And so his journey continued. He had faced poverty. He had shown courage. He had practiced hard work. And now he had learned from failure. But he knew the next step was greater. He had discovered that beyond failure, he needed something bigger. Not just effort, not just strength, but something that could guide him through every challenge. He needed knowledge, the hunger for knowledge. The boy had already learned one powerful lesson. Failure is not the end, but a teacher. But even with this new wisdom, he understood something was still missing. Hard work gave him strength. Failure gave him courage. But he needed a sharper tool, something that could guide him. That tool was knowledge. At first, knowledge was not easy to find. His family had no library. His school had only a few old books. But his hunger for learning was strong. He borrowed books from neighbors. He asked teachers for extra lessons. When he finished one book, he searched for another. He read slowly, sometimes with a candle late at night, but he never stopped. He discovered a simple truth. Every book opened a new world. One book taught him about numbers and money. Another book taught him about people and character. Another book told the stories of great men who had also started with nothing but rose to greatness. These stories gave him hope. He realized he was not alone. Many before him had walked the same hard road. His hunger for knowledge did not end with books. He listened to people who were wiser. He watched carefully how successful sellers in the market spoke to their customers. He noticed their words, their smiles, even the way they arranged their goods. He asked small questions. Why do you do this? How do you keep customers happy? Some laughed at him, some ignored him, but a few answered, and every answer became a treasure. Contrast his path with others around him. Many of his friends stopped learning after school. They said, "Books are boring. We already know enough." They worked during the day, and at night they wasted time in games or gossip. They laughed at him when he sat with a candle and a book. They told him he was foolish to study after a long day of work. But he knew something they did not. Knowledge multiplies effort. 1 hour of smart work is more powerful than 10 hours of blind work. The boy's world began to change. With every page he read, with every question he asked, he saw new possibilities. He learned how to save money better. He learned how to speak with more confidence. He learned that even failures had patterns, and if he could study them, he could avoid the same mistakes. Knowledge gave him a new kind of power. Before he only worked with his hands. Now he began to work with his mind. His hands were strong, but his mind was becoming sharper, and together they made him unstoppable. There was a day that showed this clearly. He once bought fruit in large amounts thinking he would sell quickly. But the market was slow and the fruit began to spoil. Before this mistake would have destroyed him. But this time he remembered something he read in a book. When you cannot sell one thing, change its form. He thought hard. Then he began to cut the fruit into pieces, putting them in small cups. Suddenly people who did not want a whole fruit began to buy the cups. He sold almost everything. This small idea learned from knowledge saved him. Another time he listened to an older man in the market who said, "The secret is not only to sell, but to serve." The boy thought about this for days. Then he began to greet his customers warmly. He asked about their families, remembered their names, and smiled with real care. Soon people returned, not only for fruit, but for his kindness. Again, knowledge made the difference, step by step. His hunger for knowledge grew stronger. He could not stop. It was like drinking water. The more he drank, the thirstier he became. He read one book, then another. He asked one question, then another. He watched one person, then another. Each new piece of knowledge added to the last, like bricks building a house. But here's the contrast again. Many people in his village did not hunger for knowledge. They worked hard, yes, but they stayed the same year after year. They repeated the same mistakes because they never asked why. They stayed poor, not only in money, but in wisdom. The boy, however, refused to stay the same. He grew richer in knowledge each day, and knowledge began to open doors that were once invisible to him. Think about your own life. Maybe you are learning English now. Some people stop after a few lessons. They say, "It is too hard. I cannot improve." But those who keep learning one word, then another, one sentence, then another grow stronger every day. Knowledge is like a seed. You plant it, you water it, and slowly it grows into a tree. The boy's story reminds us that knowledge is not about being the smartest in the room. It is about being willing to learn again and again. It is about staying curious, about asking why, about never thinking you already know enough. His hunger for knowledge became his compass. It guided him through storms. It showed him new paths when old ones were blocked. It gave him ideas when others only saw problems. Knowledge multiplied every effort he made, turning small steps into giant leaps. Yet, even as he grew wiser, he realized one more thing. Knowledge was powerful, but knowledge alone was not enough. A book could teach him a lesson, but a book could not hold his hand. An idea could inspire him, but an idea could not walk beside him. He needed something more. He needed people, building strong relationships. As the boy grew, he understood that knowledge alone could not make him succeed. He had learned from books and mentors, but he still needed one more important thing: people. People could help, guide, and open doors that no amount of money or knowledge could reach alone. He learned that success is never a journey traveled alone. He began to treat everyone with respect. At the market, he greeted sellers politely, remembered their names, and asked how their families were. He helped customers carry baskets, even without payment. Small acts of kindness became his habit. He smiled at strangers, shared a piece of bread with those in need, and never turned away someone who asked for help. People noticed. Contrast this with others around him. Many sellers were greedy. They pushed customers, lied about prices, and ignored neighbors in need. They thought success meant taking more for themselves. They built walls around their lives. The boy, however, built bridges. His kindness and respect drew people closer. They wanted to help him, not because he asked, but because he treated them well. One day, a customer needed help moving a heavy load of goods. The boy offered to help without expecting anything in return. Weeks later, that same customer brought him information about a new business opportunity. "I thought of you because you are honest and helpful," the man said. The boy realized that his small act of kindness had returned to him as a chance to grow. He also connected with mentors and older, wiser people. He listened carefully to their advice, asked questions, and followed their guidance. Some were busy and did not notice him at first, but he never gave up. He continued to show respect, patience, and interest. Slowly, doors opened. People trusted him. They recommended him for jobs, shared advice, and offered opportunities that he could not have found alone. He saw that relationships are like seeds. You plant them with kindness, water them with respect, and care for them with honesty. Over time, they grow into strong trees that can support you when storms come. A single small act of generosity can return many times over. Contrast this with greed and selfishness. A person who only takes may gain temporarily, but they lose trust. No one wants to help them. They are alone when problems come. The boy saw this clearly. He chose to be generous not because it was easy, but because it created real strength in his life. Even small gestures made a difference. When a neighbor was sick, he helped carry water and cook food. When someone lost a coin, he returned it. These small acts built his reputation. People began to trust him without hesitation. And trust is more valuable than money. Money can be lost, but trust lasts. Through these relationships, the boy learned lessons that books cannot teach. He learned about human nature, about patience, about honesty. He learned that treating people well is not only moral, it is smart. A network of supportive people can help you overcome obstacles that seem impossible alone. Sometimes people betrayed him or tried to take advantage. He was careful and learned to see who was trustworthy. But he never became cold or unkind. He balanced caution with generosity. And that made him wise. He understood that one bad experience did not cancel the power of good relationships. With the support of people around him, He could dream bigger and take bigger risks. A mentor taught him a new skill. A customer offered him a chance to sell in a larger market. A friend advised him on how to save for a bigger opportunity. Every connection became a stepping stone toward his growing success. He realized that life is a network of choices and people. Knowledge multiplies effort. Courage makes you start. Hard work builds strength. But relationships give you leverage. Alone, you can climb a little. Together with trust and respect, you can climb mountains. This lesson became part of his daily life. Every day he chose to treat people well, to be honest, and to act with kindness. He understood that success grows when it is shared and when others believe in you. Every opportunity he received was connected to the people he had treated with respect, and so with people around him. He was ready for bigger challenges. He had courage, hard work, knowledge, and trust. Now he could step into risks that he could not have faced alone. His network became his safety net, and his kindness became his shield. With this support, he could now move forward to greater ventures, take bold steps, and grow his dream into something larger than ever before. Taking risks with vision, the boy had learned many lessons. He had courage, hard work, knowledge, and strong relationships, but he understood one more truth. To reach great success, he needed to take risks. A dream can stay small if you only play safe. Comfort keeps people alive, but risk makes people grow. One day he saw an opportunity. A small factory in the town was closing, and the owner wanted to sell it cheaply. Most people ignored it. They said it is too dangerous. You will lose money. Better to stay safe. They chose small lives, small earnings, and no change. The boy felt fear. He did not have much money. He had no experience running a factory. Friends warned him, "It is too big. You will fail. Why risk everything?" His heart beat fast. Doubts filled his mind. But deep inside, he remembered all he had learned. Failure teaches, knowledge guides, people support, and hard work builds strength. He also remembered his dream, the vision he carried since childhood. He thought, if I never try, I will stay poor forever. If I take this risk, I can change everything. The fear was strong, but his dream was stronger. He decided to act. He borrowed a small amount from trusted friends, saved the rest of his coins, and took the leap. The first days were terrifying. The machines were old. Workers were untrained. Orders were slow. Every mistake made him anxious. He can lose everything. At night, he lay awake thinking, what if I fail? What if all my effort is wasted? But he refused to stop. Fear was part of the journey. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is moving forward despite it. He worked long hours. He studied the facto's business, learned new techniques, and trained the workers carefully. He called customers and offered the best service. Every action was calculated. He did not act blindly. He acted with vision. Contrast this with his friends who stayed safe. They worked simple jobs, earned small money, and went home each day without fear. They felt comfortable, but their lives were flat, small, and unchanging. The boy's heart raced with both fear and hope because he knew the reward could be big if he succeeded. Some days he wanted to give up. Mistakes happened. Money was lost. Orders were delayed. Workers complained. He felt alone in responsibility. But he remembered his past, carrying water, selling fruit, failing and learning. Each small risk he had taken before prepared him for this bigger one. He made small changes every day. He improved machines, trained staff, reduced waste, and increased quality. Customers began to notice. Slowly, Orders grew. Slowly, the factory began to earn money. The fear did not disappear, but hope replaced some of it. Risk is never comfortable. It is full of doubt and uncertainty. But risk also opens doors that safety can never open. If he had stayed safe, he would still sell fruit or carry water. His dream would remain small. By taking a bold step, he created the possibility for a new life, a bigger life. The boy also realized something important. Vision gives risk purpose. Risk without vision is reckless. Risk with vision is powerful. He did not invest in the factory to gamble. He invested because he saw the potential, because he knew what he wanted the future to look like. His eyes were not fixed on today, but on the years ahead, on the life he dreamed of since childhood. Slowly, his courage, hard work, knowledge, and relationships all came together. Each small lesson supported this big decision. The factory was not easy. Every day was a test. But he felt alive because he knew he was moving toward his dream, not waiting for luck to come. Contrast again with those who avoid risk. Safety is easy. Fear disappears. But growth stops. Comfort may feel good today, but tomorrow looks the same. The boy chose uncertainty. He chose challenge. And that choice changed everything. After months of struggle, small successes began to appear. Orders increased. Profits grew. Workers respected him. People admired his vision, but he knew the risk was only the beginning. Taking the step opened a new path, but walking it required more than courage. It required persistence. Fear, doubt, and uncertainty will always return even after a brave decision. Success is not only about taking risks, it is about continuing after the risk. When work is harder than ever, when results are not immediate, that is the next lesson he needed to learn. Persistence. The boy had taken a bold step. He had faced fear and doubt, and he had acted with vision. That step changed his life. But it was only the start. The journey was far from over. To reach the top, he needed to keep moving, no matter how hard it became. Persistence through struggles. After taking the big risk with the factory, the boy realized something important. The hard part was not starting, but continuing. Every new day brought challenges. Machines broke. Workers argued. Orders were delayed. The path to success was long and full of obstacles. Many people would have stopped. Many would have said, "This is too hard, I give up." But he did not stop. He remembered all he had learned: courage, hard work, knowledge, relationships, and vision. Now, persistence became his most important tool. Persistence is the habit of continuing even when everything seems against you. He worked when others rested. He planned when others relaxed. He saved when others spent. He believed when others doubted. At first, the progress was slow. Some days he earned little or nothing. Some nights he went to sleep hungry. Sometimes he felt pain in his back and legs from long hours. Sometimes customers refused to buy. Every step forward felt tiny, almost invisible. But he kept going step by step. Contrast this with people around him. Some friends and neighbors gave up after one failure. They thought life was unfair and they stayed small. They stopped trying, stopped learning, and stopped dreaming. Their days passed like shadows, and their dreams remained as wishes only. The boy, however, learned that persistence is the bridge between a dream and reality. He developed a routine to survive and grow. He woke early, checked the factory, trained the workers, solved problems, and studied new ways to improve. Every day. He repeated this, even when tired or discouraged. Each small action built his strength and skills, even when results were not visible. He knew the work was not wasted. There were moments when the challenges felt too heavy. One day, a storm destroyed part of his inventory. Another day, a supplier cheated him and he lost money. At times, he thought about quitting, thinking, maybe I am not meant to succeed. But then he remembered the long road he had already walked from carrying water to selling fruit, from reading books to building relationships. Quitting now would erase all that effort. Persistence also taught him patience. Success rarely comes immediately. Great achievements need time, repeated effort, and resilience. He learned to wait while working, to trust the process, and to improve continuously. Each small victory, no matter how tiny, reminded him that progress was real. He also learned to adapt. Obstacles were not only hard, they were lessons in disguise. If a method didn't work, he tried another. If a worker refused to cooperate, he trained someone new. If customers ignored his stall, he changed his approach. Persistence is not blind effort. It is effort combined with learning and adaptation. The boy's persistence became visible to others. Some people laughed at first, thinking he was foolish for continuing after so many struggles. But slowly, admiration grew. People saw his dedication, his refusal to quit, and his steady movement forward. Even competitors respected him. They understood that his patience and persistence were more powerful than luck or talent. There were times when he worked while others rested or celebrated. While friends went to festivals or parties, he counted profits, repaired machines, or read another book. Many would have called this life unfair, but he called it preparation. Every sacrifice was an investment in the future. Persistence is not glamorous. It is often lonely and tiring, but it builds character and strength. Every time he pushed through pain, every time he worked without immediate reward, he strengthened the bridge between his dream and reality. Each day added one more plank to the bridge until it became strong enough to carry him toward success. Even small acts mattered. He answered emails on time, trained his workers carefully, remembered his customers, and solved problems quickly. Others might ignore these small details, but over time, these actions built trust, loyalty, and efficiency. Persistence shows in the details, not only in grand gestures. Years passed and he continued the same habits. Some days were discouraging, some months were slow, and some years felt endless. But he never stopped moving. His mind remained focused, his body remained diligent, and his heart remained patient. That is the power of persistence. It turns repeated effort into eventual triumph. Contrast, again. Many quit after 1 year, after one failure, or after one setback. The boy continued for years. Each step forward seemed small, but each step was part of a journey. And the journey itself taught him lessons that no shortcut could offer. Finally, the persistence began to show results. Customers returned, orders increased, and workers became skilled. Profits grew steadily. The boy saw the fruits of his long effort. Slowly, the factory began to succeed, and his dreams started to become real. Persistence had transformed his life. It turned fear into courage, struggle into strength, and small steps into progress. The road was still long, but he now had proof. Dreams can become reality if one refuses to quit, if one continues with patience, effort, and belief. His story teaches us that persistence is more important than talent or luck. Talent without persistence fades. Luck without persistence disappears. But persistence carries you forward even when everything else fails. It is the bridge from dreaming to achieving, from planning to living your vision. And so, as the boy moved forward, he began to see the first signs of real success. Persistence gave him results. Slowly, his dream became visible. People noticed. The community respected him. Opportunities arrived. But he knew this was only the beginning. From nothing to billionaire. The boy who once carried water and sold fruit had now grown into a man. His small factory had expanded. Orders came from other towns. Workers trusted him. Customers valued him. Slowly, step by step, year by year, he built something extraordinary. He became wealthy. He became respected. He became, in the eyes of the world, a billionaire. Contrast his life now with his childhood. Then he had no coins, no books, no connections. He had only a dream, courage, hard work, knowledge, relationships, and persistence. Now he had money, influence, and opportunities, but he remembered the journey that created him. The wealth was a result, not the cause of his growth. People often think success is about money. Many dream only of coins, cars, or houses. But the boy learned a deeper truth. Real success is about growth. It is about the discipline to work every day. It is about the courage to start small. It is about learning from failure. It is about helping others along the way. Money can come and go, but these lessons stay forever. Even as a billionaire, he stayed humble. He continued to treat people with respect. He continued to learn. He continued to work hard. He helped those who were in the position he once had. He provided jobs, taught skills, and shared knowledge. He understood that giving back multiplies the value of success. Contrast again, many rich people forget the journey. They seek only more wealth and power. The boy remembered every struggle, every failure, every long night of reading and working. He knew that each moment built the man he had become. Without the journey, the money alone would not have made him complete. The story shows that wealth is a reflection of what you build inside. Dreams, courage, hard work, knowledge, relationships, and persistence are the foundations. Money is the visible result of invisible effort. The boy became a billionaire, yes, but the true wealth was in his growth, discipline, and character. He became an inspiration to many. People looked at him and saw what is possible. A boy with nothing, no connections, and no special advantages could rise to the top with the right habits, mindset, and effort. His journey became a story of hope, a guide for others who feel small and powerless. The lesson is clear. You do not need to start with money to succeed. You need vision, courage, discipline, persistence, knowledge, and respect for others. Start where you are. Use what you have. Take small steps every day. Over time, even the biggest dreams can come true. And so, the boy who started with nothing became a billionaire. But the most important truth is this: the journey is the real reward. Every struggle, every failure, every lesson, every relationship. These built a life of meaning far beyond money. Your story can begin today. You have listened to the story of a boy who started with nothing. He had no money, no special skills, no powerful family. Yet, he became a billionaire. But this story is not only about money. It is about what is possible when you choose to act, to dream, and to grow. And the most important truth is your story can begin today. Many people stay the same. They wait for perfect conditions. They wait for luck. They think, I am too young, too old, too poor, too busy. They make excuses and put their dreams aside. Days pass, weeks pass, years pass. Life does not change because they did not act. Contrast this with taking one small step today. The boy began with tiny actions. He carried water, sold fruit, read books, and asked questions. Each step seemed small, almost invisible. But over time, they created a life he had once only imagined. One small action repeated every day creates enormous change. You may not want to be a billionaire, and that is okay. The point is not money. The point is transformation. You can change your habits, learn new skills, help others, and work toward your own dreams. You can become stronger, wiser, and more capable than you are today. Your life can grow just like his did. Start with a dream. Even a small dream can guide you. Maybe your dream is learning English better. Maybe it is starting a small business, helping your family, or improving your health. Whatever it is, hold it clearly in your mind. A dream is the seed of change, and you must plant it before it can grow. Then have courage. It is scary to start. It is scary to try something new. The boy felt fear too, but courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is moving forward despite fear. Take your first step even if it is small. Make one phone call, write one sentence, read one page, or offer help to one person. That first step begins the journey. Work hard every day. Small actions repeated build strength. Even if it is difficult, even if it is tiring, keep going. Hard work is not only about money or results. It is about creating habits that make success possible. Every day you practice. Every day you try. You grow stronger. Learn from life and from others. Knowledge multiplies effort. Read books. Listen to mentors. Ask questions. Observe people who succeed. One lesson can save you from many mistakes. One idea can open a new path. Keep learning, and you will see that small effort grows into great wisdom. Build strong relationships. Treat people with respect. Help when you can. Trust is powerful, and support is invaluable. Success is rarely achieved alone. The boy succeeded because he respected others, gained trust, and helped people along the way. Your kindness and integrity will return to you in opportunities and support. Be persistent. Life will challenge you. You will face failure, mistakes, and delays. Do not quit. Keep moving. Keep learning. Keep working. Persistence turns dreams into reality. Step by step, day by day. Your effort builds a bridge from today to your future. The boy's story shows the power of combining all these elements: dream, courage, hard work, knowledge, relationships, and persistence. Each piece matters. Each step builds on the last, and the most important lesson is this: you do not need to start perfect. You do not need to wait for the right moment. You start with what you have. He started with nothing. You can start now with what you have. A single choice today can change your tomorrow. It may seem small, almost invisible, but if you repeat it, if you act with patience and persistence, it will grow. Your life can be transformed just like his. Remember, the journey matters more than the reward. Every step you take builds character, strength, and wisdom. Every struggle teaches you. Every small success encourages you. Your growth is the real treasure. Money, recognition, or status may follow, but the lessons, habits, and resilience you gain will stay with you forever. So take a breath. Look at your life now. Think of one small action you can take today. It could be writing a plan, learning a new word, helping someone, or working on a skill. Take that step. Keep going. And remember, the boy who started with nothing became a billionaire, not because he was lucky, but because he acted, learned, and persisted. You have the same power in your hands. Your story begins now. The first step is yours to take.